Let's start with air resistance, also called drag. By definition, it describes the forces that are in opposition to the relative motion of an object as it passes through the air. These drag forces act opposite to the oncoming flow velocity, thus slowing the object down.
Resistance is usually calculated using the drag equation.
In this experiment of the bottle, we throw it into the air, and due to air resistance, it changes its direction. Thanks to that, we do not have a perfect parabola.
On the other hand, there is projectile motion. It is a form of motion where an object moves in a bilaterally symmetrical parabolic path. The basic equations that go along with them in the special case in which the projectile and initial positions are null x equals 0 and y equals 0.
These are the equations that projectile motion use.
Assuming that when kicking a ball in a soccer match, the ball is launched from the ground and travels in a parabola, it always has to return to the ground. We can calculate, for example, in this type of exercise, the maximum height, the initial velocity, and the final velocity.
Both the range of a projectile and the maximum height that it reaches are affected by air resistance. The diagrams show how generally air resistance affects both the trajectory and the velocity of a projectile. The blue lines show the projectile with no air resistance, and the red lines show that what happens when air resistance is taken into account. The maximum height, the range, and the velocity of the projectile are reduced. So, in conclusion, projectile motion can be part of our daily life activities. Therefore, understanding it is very important. To understand these two concepts better, the projectile motion without air resistance can be separated into two components, x and y. As Isaac Newton proposed, an object in motion will remain in motion unless an external force acts on it. This means that a projectile in motion will remain with the same initial velocity on its x component through its flight. When it encounters air resistance, it will change its trajectory because the projectile will have negative forces in both axes acting upon it. Therefore, when considering to launch a projectile, air resistance must be taken into consideration in order to reach the target properly.